We're talking about that decision in the game between Tottenham and Liverpool when Diaz scored, but VAR mistakenly believed that the on-field decision had been to award the goal. It hadn't. VAR's Darren England relayed the message of check complete, and the goal there and then was ruled out. But it's a mess. It's a mess, and the PGMOL are right in the thick of it. So what do we do, especially when Liverpool start using phrases in a statement that they would like to see this and that? They're calling for escalation and resolution. What does that mean? What does it mean, Nick, Liverpool fan? Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you very much for a great show.
Thanks, Nick.
Well, firstly, I mean, in my opinion, Howard Webb needs to resign. He was brought in to improve VAR, and it's gone backwards. He's made it worse. As Simon said, if it was a technical issue, then fair enough. We could perhaps live with that and look at it. But it's not. It's not a technical issue. It's a people issue, and it's just wrong. There were other issues as well in the match, not just the offside, alleged offside, the two red cards as well. I mean, we can talk about those. I mean, I didn't think they were red cards personally, but
you think this is the straw that broke the camel's back, Nick? That it should be time up for Howard? That seems harsh, doesn't it?
Well, I don't think so. He's brought in to improve the system, and it's not improved. It's gone backwards. So,
Does that achieve anything, Simon?
Well, I don't know if facts in this conversation trump the feelings. At this moment in time, we're seeing decisions being made, but are the facts that bear out that sentiment actually accurate? Because I'm not entirely sure that they are. I'm not entirely sure that VAR hasn't operated at a higher level on the majority of decisions. And when you see these very, very poor, explicitly bad decisions, I mean, what do you do about Darren England ever in all his time made a decision like that? And if he has never made one like that, what was Howard Webb do about it then?
Yeah, because we do have a list of 14 fairly high-profile apologies from Howard.
Right.
Since September the 30th, 2023.
Because we have a culture of apologies.
I beg your pardon, that date back to 2022.
Was apologies part of the PGMOL's modus operandi before Howard came along?
No, but public apologies.
So what are we comparing it to then? We're comparing it to something that we didn't do before. So did we have 14 instances before in the same period of time that should have been apologised for but weren't? So we're now going to turn around and say that apologies are a bad thing. What's a bad thing is making mistakes. Apologies is what we want, don't we? That's what we demand in the media. You must apologise every time you do something wrong. So he's apologised. But have we got 14 more instances than previous times? Because if we haven't, then what's the argument about Howard Webb degrading it rather than improving it?
Let's hear from Mark, another Liverpool fan. I mean, where are we going with this, Mark? Where is this heading?
Well, at the end of the day, VAR is killing the immediate celebration of a goal. That's the first thing. Everybody's waiting for VAR to say, right, there's a reason not to give the goal. In rugby, the TMOs, if they see something or there's anything that's dubious, they will go check to the referee in his ear. The referee will then take time off and they will give whatever time's needed to come to that correct decision. Why can't they adopt that policy in football?
Because everyone's been screaming, Mark, about the amount of time it takes them to make decisions.
Yeah, but at least they come to the right decision.
And I agree with you, mates, but you can't do right for doing wrong. I'm not just sitting here defending them, but I'm looking at it and going, when people start making the comparison, and Pardew did it yesterday on the Sunday show here, talking about the TMO, it's a completely different culture of game. You start from a default setting that believing that referees are valued parts of the game and have a bit of respect. In football, you don't start from that. You start from a default setting that referees are the enemy, they need to be vilified. And then you start from the situation where players have had to be pulled into line because of their disrespect. We've had to get into a situation where referees are getting more authority now because Webb wants to be able to control the manner in which the game was going. And now you've got a situation where you're saying, quite reasonably so, take more time till you get it right. And then you take more time till you get it right. And then you've got a media pile-on going, if it takes longer than 30 seconds, it can't be bleeding this or it can't be bleeding that. So people can't do right for doing wrong.
Yeah, but you're not getting the people, up in arms about the time it's taking for a rugby half to be finished.
Because it's a different culture of sport, though, Mark, isn't it? It's a different dynamic. Do you have people at rugby singing tragedy songs or putting pictures up of little boys that died of cancer and the tragic circumstances and thinking that's funny? Do you have people singing and behaving and fighting in the way that you do on terraces in football stadiums you do at rugby? No, you do not. You have a completely different culture.
Mark, what do Liverpool mean by escalation and resolution? This is your club, but what do you think they mean by it?
Well, nothing's going to happen. They're not going to make the game replay. They're not going to give Liverpool the goal that will go to the goal difference at the end of the season. They're not going to give them a point, which it should have been for, a possible draw. So it's all futile. Howard Webb, you've got to remember, Howard Webb was the referee that gave the same player 3 yellow cards in a World Cup final. So it's from the top of the tree down that this needs to be sorted out, because it is killing the game of football.
Okay, thanks so much, Mark. Thanks so much for your call. Rich is a Wolves fan who's been waiting for a while. Rich, good morning.
Hi guys, great show as ever. I don't know where you really start with all of this. There's so many things that need to come into the equation. You're absolutely right. We always expect an apology. Apologies are cheap. If it's going to cost the club relegation at the end of the day, then does it then knock on to that club then suing the PMO for not getting it right? It's just an open-ended basket of worms, to be honest with you. 2 weeks ago, we had, or rather last weekend, we were playing Luton, and there was a VAR incident which resulted in a penalty that shouldn't have been given, because the VAR box had basically changed the rules of the game to suit the fact that the referee was in a new referee, and they didn't want to undermine him. Now, if that decision ultimately, and God forbid it doesn't, ultimately means that Wolves are in the bottom 3 at the end of the season, and that decision causes us to fall out of the Premier League, do Wolves sue the PMO?
Well, of course. It's all retrospective, but no, they wouldn't. No. They wouldn't, and they couldn't.
No more than you could sue a player for simulating and buying a penalty and diving and conning a referee. You couldn't sue a player for it, could you? It's the nature of the game. People make errors.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.